Season 1, Episode 5, The Petula Effect, or How to Accidentally Become Someone's Emotional Awakening and Then Never Hear from Them Again. You know, people have been saying, "Oh, Petula," to me my whole life. Sometimes it was affectionate. Sometimes it was amused. Sometimes it was exasperated. Sometimes it was a little irritated and annoyed, or a lot irritated and annoyed. Like I just said something too real for the moment we were in. It wasn't always praise, but it always meant they heard me. And now I've decided to give that phrase a home. This is Oh Petula, a short podcast about long, layered truths. Let's get into it. This week, I'm going to talk about an experience that I've had a lot as an adult that seems to be an experience a lot of people have had. So, for the purposes of this rant, I am going to call this thing the Petula Effect. I'm confident that once I get into describing what the Petula Effect is, many of you listening will discover you can easily interchange your name with mine. Now, I didn't coin the term the Petula Effect. Someone else did, a friend of mine did, but if I had, I would have copyrighted it, trademarked it, put it on some mugs, and charged emotional damages every time it activated in someone's life. So, today's episode is a short one, just me explaining what happens when someone gets too close to the emotional microwave that is my presence, starts thinking deeply about their life a little bit, and then disappears. Welcome to the chaos. The Petula Effect is when I meet someone, romantic, platonic, whatever, and they really get into my energy. I ask questions and they say they've never been asked those questions before. I share things about myself and my life. I guess I'm engaging with them in a way that's inconvenient for their avoidance strategies. And then, poof, I either never hear from them again, or they ghost me for a while, a short while, maybe a long while, and then they reappear like 4 months later or 4 years later saying, "I was going through a lot," which is typically code for "you made me realize things I wasn't feeling like dealing with." My personal favorite is, "You were too good for me." Oh, I know, I am. I'm too good for you because that's what you think. Because whatever you think about yourself is always correct, right, and true. Once a man told me I was a little much, but in a good way. Sir, that is a salad dressing description, not a personality evaluation. Another time, a man I really liked, that I wanted a future with, said to me, "I know you're trying to be kind," right before he got really mad at me, like he could not speak to me, which is honestly one of the wildest things I've ever had thrown at me like an insult. "I know you're trying to be kind," as if kindness was a weapon I had to be stopped from using. Ma'am, put the empathy down slowly and walk away from the wounded man. The Petula Effect does not mean I'm magical, though let's not pretend that I'm not magical under some circumstances. It just means I really try to show up and be open and curious when I'm getting to know people. But that can be hard for people who may have spent most of their lives surrounded by folks who let them stay shallow all the time. Because you shouldn't be anything all the time. Anyone who knows me in real life knows I can be silly and shallow at times, but I enjoy the deeper end of the emotional pool too. But once I start heading that way, oftentimes they'll say, "I'm going to vanish now, but I'll think about this forever." So, if you've ever Petula'd someone into silence, or love someone gently but from a distance, knowing in your spirit they were unraveling, in case you didn't know, it's not your fault. I have found a lot of people that have only ever been loved conditionally, or whose relationships have mostly been transactional, are going to be very confused when someone like me or someone like you turns the lights on, because that's really what the Petula Effect is, a brief dazzling exposure to emotional clarity, followed by silence. Until they pop back up in your DMs and they always do like, hey, just checking on you. How's life? Block them if you need to. I recommend it. That's it for today. And if someone sends you a vague text after ghosting you mid awakening, just whisper to yourself, the Petula effect. Or insert your name and go live your life. So, yeah, that's it for today. If this made you laugh or sigh or say, oh, Petula, share it with someone who'll get it, or share it with someone who won't, so you have something to talk about. You've been listening to Oh Petula, where the name is odd, the stories are real, and the truth always comes in layers. Please come back next week.